O negócio é o seguinte, se Leonardo dá 20, por que o Marcelo não pode dar 2?
E eu tô aqui pra saber por que essa erva é proibida, Bezerra.
Porque essa planta é maneira e é medicinal, malandra. Doutor Deus criou a natureza e também as belezas desta vida.
O Planet Hemp quer saber por que essa erva é proibida.
Doutor Deus criou a natureza e também as belezas desta vida. O Planet Hemp quer saber por que esta erva é proibida.
E tem gente que diz todo prosa, esta planta é maneira e medicinal. Só um chá da raiz faz milagre e quem beber fica livre do mal.
Ela alega, ela inspira, ela calma, que deixa a moçada de cuca legal. E aquele que perde a cabeça é porque já tem parte do espírito mal.
Sim, preste atenção, esta erva é a que faz garrafada no norte. Manga rosa controla a pressão, agrião e saião deixa o pulmão forte, eu tô falando.
Preste atenção, essa erva é que faz garrafada no norte. Manga rosa controla a pressão, agrião e saião deixa o pulmão forte.
O progresso está se alastrando e o vegetal vai sumindo da praça.
My name is John Morgan. I'm now a retired professor of pharmacology at the City University of New York Medical School. I spent 28 years teaching medical students the good and the bad things that drugs do. But for many of those years, I was very interested in the pharmacology and toxicology and regulation of marijuana. And in 1997, with my colleague Lynn Zimmer, she as the chief author, we published a book called Marijuana Myths, Marijuana Facts, which is, there are 40,000 copies available of this book in the United States, and it's still read despite the fact that it's about 10 years old. We spent all our effort in that book talking about common beliefs about marijuana. The book was called Marijuana Myths, Marijuana Facts, and what we tried to do was take on the arguments that one hears very frequently from people opposed to the legalization, regulation, reform of marijuana. We had a chapter on the so-called gateway effect. We had a chapter on the pulmonary damage. We had a chapter on damage to the fetus, damage to anything to do with the pregnancy process, damage to the immune system, etc., etc. Now, my opinion, and maybe I'll talk some about it, although my goal is to say something else, is that marijuana is a drug with some hazards. It would be strange if there were a drug with no hazards, because I don't know of any drugs that have no hazards. But of all the psychoactive drugs that people have taken, I think marijuana is by and large the safest. Now, this does not mean that one can get high and expect to function the way one does when one's normal. As Len always used to say, people should not, after smoking marijuana, drive cars or babysit or enter into marital contracts. So we believe that the drug is largely safe. And when I'm in debate or discussion with people, there are always small facts that come up. You don't really know if there's no cancer caused by marijuana, although there are no medical reports of any cancer caused by marijuana. It does not appear by any criteria that marijuana is a gateway drug, but people are always saying, well, I know someone whose life was just fine, and then at age 14 he began smoking marijuana and ended up a heroin user. So I've actually come to the point when the topic is marijuana toxicity, and I run through the things, say I don't believe it causes cancer, I don't believe it causes chronic lung disease, I don't think it's anywhere near as dangerous as tobacco smoking, I don't think it contributes to vehicular mayhem very much, because marijuana smokers, although impaired somewhat, generally slow down and don't drive so badly. There are many, many arguments to have, but here's the bottom line. If tomorrow someone publishes a series of papers to show that Lynn and I were wrong, that marijuana is a much more dangerous drug, that it does occasionally cause cancer, that it does cause kids to flunk out of school, that it does harm the immune system. If tomorrow I'm convinced that that is the truth as opposed to what I've been saying for 28 years, then I will say two things. I will say, I'm sorry. I'd like to apologize to you for misinterpreting the science in all those years and getting it wrong. The second thing I want to say to you is that this is a better reason to legalize marijuana than before. In other words, I am a strong advocate of legalization of marijuana and other drugs, not because they're safe, but because they're dangerous. We've focused a lot of attention on marijuana because of its minimal dangers, but even its dangers make it better controllable by a system of regulation, a system in which a retail market can develop, a system that removes the criminality. So I don't want to legalize marijuana because it's safe. I want to legalize it because it's dangerous.
E eu tô aqui pra saber por que essa erva é proibida, Bezerra.